Knek means breaking. You break because it's hard. So this is hard bread. It doesn't taste anything. It's just bread, but it is hard. So what you do with the surströmming, you put now the fish one side, you put potatoes on the other side, and now you put your and then on top of the bread, and then you eat. So this knäcke bread is heavenly to the Swedish people. This knäcke bread, there is no Swedish person in every meal. Most of the Swedish people will want to eat this bread. This bread, knäcke bread, is a bread that it goes way back. Again, remember Sweden, many years ago, the 18th century, the 17th century, Sweden was very, very poor. So I believe this bread was being made then, and it was being made that hard so that it can last a long time. This is how the knäcke bread originally looked like. It has this hole. This hole was to help now when the bread has been done, it would be put on, like the way we dry firewood at home in the countryside, on top in the kitchen like this. It's the same thing here. So they would put a stick inside here, and then you hang many of these knäcke bread inside the house to dry. That's a way for it to air dry so that it gets this hard. And it's rough, it has no design, but nowadays, it has, they've modernized it, of course, like this one has a bit of sheer friend, and they've come different types of knäcke bread. But it's a tradition. Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Generica is my name if you're meeting me for the first time, and if you're coming back again and again, karibuni sana. This is the best of two worlds, where we talk about both sides of the coin, the good, the bad, and everything else in between. So thank you so much for coming back, and for liking, for sharing, and even for commenting. I don't take that for granted. So today we have a new video, and I don't know how many people know I have lived in Sweden for the past 20 years, and among those 20 years I have learned a thing or two. But today I want to address the things that shocked me, or the culture shock that I experienced the first 2 years when I moved to Sweden. And I will take them in different categories. I will talk about the food and the cuisine. I'll talk about the social customs and the social life. I'll talk about the weather and the lifestyle. And then I will also talk about work cultures and traditions. And then lastly, I will talk about the language and the communication. So I will start with the first shock. The first shock when it came to food is that Sweden loves to eat a lot of cold food. So most of the food, if you go to functions, if you go to parties, most of the time you'll find they have done very delicious food, but it is cold. So if they've done potatoes, the potatoes are cold. You'll find they have different kind of meat that are cold. They have a lot of fish. that is also cold. So they like to eat a lot of cold food. Unlike in Kenya, we don't serve cold foods. Unless it is salad, we don't serve cold foods. That was the first shock. And I will talk about different kinds of food. So I'll talk about the potatoes. In Sweden, they eat the small potatoes. You know the potatoes in Kenya that we use to plant, those two small ones? Those are the potatoes that are mostly eaten in Sweden. This is because they call it the fast potatoes. When the summer is about to come, the potatoes that come out fast, those are and they can be very pricey. They can be very pricey. They love to eat those potatoes. And they are cooked with the skin. So you don't peel potatoes. Actually, in this country, in Sweden, we don't peel potatoes. Potatoes are not peeled. Potatoes are cooked with the peel. So you wash them. And of course you don't get them. It's not like at home in Kenya where you get potatoes direct from the farm. So they have a lot of soil and they have a lot of mud. So you have to wash them. You have to peel them. Here, when they come, because you can only buy potatoes. Okay, you can buy potatoes in the market, but they are already washed. They are already pre-washed. So really, when you come home, you just have to do the final washing and then cook them and eat. So that was a shock for me because I had never, ever, ever eaten potatoes unpeeled. So, and comment below also if you have eaten potatoes unpeeled, because that is something I have found in this country. The other thing why they don't peel potatoes, all the nutrients are really on the skin. So that's one of the reasons that actually you don't need to peel the potatoes. And this is, it's a tradition that you pick up and you continue with it because you find the benefit of not peeling the potatoes. So that was a shock for me. There's something called Pancake Thursday. That on Thursdays, the Swedish people take a soup, a peanut soup, and eat it with pancakes. Now, where I come from in Kenya, pancakes, we eat them for breakfast. We eat pancakes for breakfast. So that was also now the other culture shock that when I came I found, and their pancakes are almost like the size of a chapati. And they're very, 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 very thin. In Kenya, we are used to making, those small pancakes that are a bit fatter. So that they hold holy. In most homes on Thursdays, you will go and you'll find they are eating the peanut sauce, the peanut soup with pancakes. If you go to restaurants on a Thursday, you are bound to find peanut soup and pancakes. So that's also the other culture shock I found. For me, I have never eaten pancakes on a Thursday. Pancakes are eaten for breakfast. And this tradition, apparently this tradition is a tradition that already started in the 16th century because in Sweden was once a Catholic country. So they would eat the peanut soup and pancakes on Thursday just before they start to fast on Friday. So it was eaten during the Easter season, and this tradition has continued until today. So their pancakes are very, very thin, and they are the size of a chapati, and it is eaten with the peanut soup. And the soup, you'd imagine that it's like in Kenya where we drink soup in cups. No, the peanut soup, because it's a bit thicker and it has a bit of the peanut covers and all, it is eaten in a plate. It's a bit thick, so it's not the normal soup we are used in Kenya, the bone soup, the chicken soup. This is a peanut soup, which is eaten on a plate. It's served on a plate. Then the pancakes are served with whipped cream and jam. So when you order your pancakes, say you go in a restaurant and order your pancakes, they will come with there'll be a side plate for the whipped cream and a side plate for the jam. So these two go together. And then now there's some restaurants will have bacon to go with it, and some will not. It's your preference how you want it. But that's another culture shock that I found is different from being in Kenya. The other the other culture shock about when it comes to food and cuisine, there's something they call streaming. Streaming is a small fish. It's like omena, our omena in Kenya. But now this fish has been fermented. It it's almost it's actually when you open the can, it is rotten. So this fish, it comes from the northern part of Sweden. It's fished in the Baltic Sea, and it's a tradition that is eaten in Sweden during the summer. Now, the cans are not big; they are this small, but you cannot open this can inside the house, because if you open that can inside the house, it will take you years to remove the smell of that fish inside the house. It's actually fermented. It's fermented. It's almost, I'll call it rotten. It's rotten fish. Myself, this fish, you either like it or you don't like it. Personally, I don't like it because I visited the town that really makes these fishes, and the whole town smells fermented fish. So I have never eaten it myself. But the people who have eaten, because it's a tradition, there is a tradition for eating the surströmming. You have to have if you have guests, you have people who are coming to enjoy this fish, because there are people who are religious and love this fish. They have to open it outside. You have to open it outside. The fish is eaten with some bread that I will talk about next, and potatoes, because this fish doesn't taste anything. It's just a fish. It has a lot of salt. It has a lot of salt in it. So to neutralize the salt, you eat it with boiled potatoes and bread. So, and of course now some drink, some beer or wine or whatever it is you're eating. So that was a shock for me, because I'm used to eating tilapia, I'm used to eating omena, and this is ordinary fish, and it has to be cooked in different ways. So that's a shock. Now the bread I'm talking about is called knäckebröd. Kneck is to break. I think I will show you the bread. Just give me a second. This is the knäckebröd. I don't know whether you can see it. This is the knäckebröd. Get ready. I'm going to break. Kneck means breaking. You break because it's hard. So this is hard bread. It doesn't taste anything. It's just bread, but it is hard. So what you do with the surströmming, you put now the fish one side, you put potatoes on the other side, and now you put your and then on top of the bread, and then you eat. So this knäckebröd is heavenly to the Swedish people. This knäckebröd, there is no Swedish person in every meal. Most of the Swedish people will want to eat this bread. This bread, knäckebröd, is a bread that it goes way back. Again, remember Sweden, many years ago, the 18th century, the 17th century, Sweden was very, very poor. So I believe this bread was being made then, and it was being made that hard so that it can last a long time. This is how the knäckebröd originally looked like. It has this hole. This hole was to help. Now when the bread has been done, it would be put on like the way we dry firewood at home in the countryside, on top in the kitchen like this. It's the same thing here. So they would put a stick inside here, and then you hang many of these knäckebröd inside the house to dry. That's a way for it to air dry, so that it gets this hard. And it's rough. It has no design, but nowadays, they've modernized it, of course. Like this one has a bit of sheer fern, and they've come different types of knäckebröd. But it's a tradition. Yeah, it's a tradition in Sweden of eating knäckebröd. If you go to any restaurant, they always will have ordinary bread. They'll have brown bread. They'll have white bread, and then they'll have knäckebröd of different taste. you can see, like this one is written, it's written Husman cost. Husman cost means is the daily, the layman's daily bread, the human daily bread. So it's something, it's a bread that is found in every homestead. In every homestead in Sweden, you'll find some sort of knäcke bread, and it's of different sizes. What else shocked me about the cuisine in Kenya? Apart from the fact now, of course, they have foods that are specially for eaten during the high season. Like now the way in Kenya we have chapatis are normally related to Christmas. Chicken is related to Christmas. Nyama choma is related to high season. The same thing here. There are those things, those foods that are eaten during the high season, during Christmas. I'll start with Christmas. You'll find they have the lax, salmon. That is very rich. You can eat salmon during even other periods, but you will never miss salmon during Christmas. And salmon is served in different ways. There is the what do you call this? You eat lax that is raw. It's sliced in thin slices,
But
and then it has been put.
Reserved in salt.
Yeah, it has been reserved in salt. It's very, very delicious. I love it. I eat it. You'll find.
You eat it with the hot potato.
Yeah, then you eat it with potatoes, of course. Then you will find during Christmas table, you find they have eggs. So they cut the eggs into half, and then they put caviar, they put mayonnaise, and they put different things. Easter the same. Some of these foods repeat themselves during Christmas. You find them during Easter and things like that. So what is common? What is common between now Sweden and Kenya is that now in Kenya we also eat potatoes, we eat rice, we eat pasta, and those are also foods that are commonly eaten here. But I wanted to just highlight the things the foods that I had not eaten while I'm in Kenya. So it was really of culture shock. And now about the social cultures of the Swedish people. Generally, the Swedish people are reserved people. They're quiet people. They like their space. And that was strange for me because in Kenya, it's the opposite. We love people. We talk. I mean, if it's my neighbors, I know every neighbor. We borrow each other salt. It's not the same in Sweden. I could be living here and I don't even know who my neighbors are. That is not abnormal because Sweden believe in giving each other space. They believe in their quiet, small families and maybe the few friends they have here and there. So that is one of the things I found very strange because you'll find if you get into a bus, for example, if I'm living here and I'm going to town by bus, in Kenya, I'm used to if I enter matatu, I'm bound to talk to the person sitting next to me. Just from nowhere, we will just talk about anything. You'll find yourself talking. You'll find talking to somebody, somebody who is sitting at the front. You'll find me trying to have a conversation with somebody trying to talk at the front. It's not the same in Sweden. In Sweden, you don't shout in communal places. In a bus and you're speaking loudly, people will look at you like you're strange. You're very strange. Number two, Swedish people love to keep distance. You see the distance we were forced to have during Corona? That is the space that the Swedish people are already used to. So you can imagine when I come, you enter in a bus. You find there is a seat here, it has one person, there's a seat there, there are empty seats. You want to sit next to somebody and yet there are empty seats. That person will wake up and move and go to the next seat. It's not because they don't want to sit next to you because you're black or anything. No, it's because there is that unspoken language of distance. They love to keep their distance. And that was also true during Corona because the Swedish people were already used to keeping distance, so we never quarantined. We were never forced to use masks. We were around to move around like anybody else. So the Corona period was normal days for the Swedish people because they were already used to it, to keeping their distance. And then they don't speak loudly. So even if you are on phone, you cannot shout. You cannot shout because they people will look at you like strange. You'll find even if people are talking, they are talking, but it's not that they're whispering, but their tones are low. They don't talk with their hands like we do. We Kenyans, we like to talk. Hey, now, guys. No, no, no. Swedish people are very calm. They don't talk with their hands. They're very, very calm. The other funny thing I found, it was a shock for me, is the way you say hi to people in this country. In this country, you very few people you'll find that I'm meeting my neighbor and I shake hands. They don't have that tradition of shaking hands. They will nod or they will say hey, that means hi, and you move on and you smile, a short one smile. Most people, if they meet you, most of the people, even if it's my neighbor who is down the line there and they know I live here, they will pass you. It's not because they're ignorant or is it they don't want to say hi. They are just like that. Swedish people will not say hi to people they don't know. Because that is how they are. And not knowing your neighbor is not strange at all. It's not strange at all. So that was the other culture. They don't shake hands. They don't really shake hands. They don't hug. We tend to hug. Kenyans, we tend to hug each other even when we don't know each other. If I meet my sister with a friend, I will hug my sister and I will hug her friend, even when I don't know her friends. The Swedish people don't do that. They will only hug you if they really know you. They know you very well. The other thing about the Swedish people, when it comes to socio socio society, is that they don't they don't talk about themselves. It's found rude and almost like your pride to talk about yourself a lot. Oh, you know me, you know me, you know me. The Swedish people don't do that. They will talk about the weather. They will talk about, uh, you know, they would only talk about the service, but they don't want to go deep into talking about themselves or what they have. My car, my no, that's not the Swedish people. It's not the Kenya style. The more you talk about it, and we don't find it abnormal to talk about the things you have in Kenya. It's almost like you encourage me to work more hard to also get what you have, or even better than what you have. So the Swedish people do not talk about that. It's found rude to actually talk about money. Swedish people don't not talk about money. They don't talk how much they earn. They don't talk about how much they bought something. They don't talk about money. They will talk about they are free to talk about. Oh, I was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago. I underwent treatment. They will talk about the diseases. They will talk about. They will talk about. The, I want to call them the negative things, because they find it that very. They'll tell you, oh, I take this medicine, I take antidepressive medicine. Oh, and I went to see this doctor to because I was feeling a bit down and I was given this medicine. They'll talk that more than wanting to talk about development and about money and how to move forward. So that's also the other. Yeah, and they don't show up, because I'll give an example, like the founder of IKEA. If you know IKEA is a Swedish company, the Swedish company for furniture. That man founded the company himself, and now it's in the whole world. Who doesn't know IKEA? And that man drove an old Volvo. Was it a Volvo or was it a Saab? A Volvo, until he died. until he died. And there are very many examples of people who are doing very, very well, and you will never know. You will find ministers. I mean, in Kenya, we are used to ministers being escorted with motorbikes by police, and you'll find a minister here sitting in the train like everybody else. You'll find ministers who are riding bikes to work because one, they do not want to show you have employed them. Number one. So they do not want to show you that you've employed them and you give them so much money that they can afford these big cars. They don't. Number two is that they think about the environment. They think a lot about the environment. So they don't talk. And I will tell you, in this country, everybody pays taxes. Everybody pays taxes, apart from the royal family. Everybody else pays taxes. And the salaries, even if I don't tell you my salary, it's not a secret. With our Huduma numbers, everybody in this country who lives in Sweden has a personal number, has a Huduma number. You can just go and Google my name and you will see where I live, how many children I have, who I live with in that house, and how much I earn, how much my house is worth. So it's not a secret. So even if I wanted to know today how much our prime minister earns, I can just go and Google and I will know. So it's not a secret, but they do not talk about their worth. We have that a lot in Kenya where we talk, oh, this man is worth this much amount of money, this man is worth. They don't, they find it rude. They find it rude to talk about what you're worth or to talk about money. Here is that there's almost no social life. I'm not saying that there is no social life. It's not like the way you in Kenya, you're leaving work and you tell your friends, let's go and have coffee or let's go and do a spontaneous dinner. You can do that, but it is not common. Why is that not common? Because most of the time you'll find people are in a hurry to go home. We don't have house helps. We don't have people who help us in our homes. So you find most people are in a hurry to go and pick their children from the daycare. Most people are in a hurry to go home. The one who is making dinner today, or maybe it's me who is going to do the washing today. So most people don't have time to go and do the socialization outside of work. So if you are going to go and do the social life, you want to meet for coffee, you have to arrange it in advance so that now I can plan myself. The other thing that really shocked me, and I can tell you this one shocked me to my core. It's not like the way when we go to Kenya, if I tell you guys, let's go and have coffee or let's go and have a drink, most of the time I will pay the bill. Or I will pay the first round and then the other one will pay the next round and things like that. In Sweden, when somebody invites you even for a date or even for coffee or dinner, I'm not talking now about people you know or people who you're close with, or let's say it's a colleague or maybe you are going for a date. Most likely or not, everybody will pay their own bill. Have you ever heard about that? So do not ever leave home saying, oh, I have been invited for dinner by so and so, I've been invited for coffee, so without money in your pocket, because they will go and they will pay for their own. He's the one who said, can we go for coffee? But when it comes to paying, he will pay for his and he's expecting you to pay for your own. The same thing when if you're going for a movie. It's the same thing. Everybody pays for their own ticket to go for the movies. So you have to be prepared. That for me was a real culture shock. That for me was a real culture shock. So it's very different from Kenya, because if I invite you in Kenya, most likely or not, I'll pay for the bill. I'll pay for me and you for our drinks. But in Sweden, if you go out for a drink, even when we go with colleagues after work, you will go in Sweden. That's the other thing. When you go to a bar or even to a coffee place, you don't go and sit expecting somebody to come and serve you. You go to the counter, You go and say, I want a cup of tea with some cookies or some biscuits. You pay, then you go, the coffee machine is at the side, the coffee and the biscuits at the side, you go and pick yourself for yourself and sit. Then when you're done with the cup and the biscuit, you go and put them in, there's a tray ready for you to put the dirty dishes. It's the same thing when you go to a bar. There is nobody coming to serve you a drink at your table. There's nobody coming to serve you a drink on the table. You will go to where the cashier is. You will go and say whatever drink you want to buy. You pay for it. Then you will carry your own drink to the table. And most often than not, if you sit down, let's say we are three girls, and I go and buy drinks and bring for them, they'll be a bit questionable. They'll ask, what is it I have in mind? So we don't buy for each other unless now you're very close and say, today I will buy. It's not a culture. It's not done here in Sweden. It's not done. There are so many others, other social things. You can say there is a lot of when you say, for example, you have been in a date and it went very well. You rent your taxi and you go home and you pay for your own taxis. You're not expecting now the person you're with to tell you, here is money for the taxi. It doesn't work that way, and you do not borrow money. In Sweden, a man will be so shocked, and even if he wants you, sometimes he will not want to see you again if you're asking for money. It's not a culture that is done in this country. You don't ask for money because this country has a lot to do with equality. It's the same thing like opening a door for a woman. Now I'm not talking about husband and wife. I'm talking about if you're just friends or you're dating. They don't have the norm of opening doors for women. No, it's because the society wants to imagine that there is equality. You can discuss that. You can discuss that. Is it true or not? But that's how it is. Don't expect just any man, just because you are behind him, he will hold the door for you. Maybe he will, but it's not a must that he will hold the door for you. You be prepared that the door will close and you have to open the door yourself. So it's different because you find most Kenyan men, the man will, even when he sees there's a woman behind, he will stop, open the door, let you go in first, and then he will go in. It's not the same here. It's not the same here. And especially when you are strangers, they will not hold the door for you. The other culture shock that really, really, really shocked me. I have grown up knowing that anybody older than me, I have to respect that person. I have to respect that person in the fact that I can help that person carry their bag. I can, if they come into a matatu and I'm seated and an older person comes in, an elderly person, somebody who is walking with a stick, I'll wake up and give them a seat. I can tell you a story. When I came into this country, I came with my Kenyan thinking. Of course, I enter in a bus and we are going to wherever we were going, and an elder person came in, and automatically within me, I just woke up and told them they can have a seat. They said, no, I can stand. Please comment below. What do you think about that? You give an elderly person a seat and they say, no, they will stand. It's okay, I will stand. And that took so long for me to put in my mind that I don't have to give a seat to an elderly person. Because even in the buses they are drawn where the elderly can sit, or people who are physically challenged, with wheelchairs and things like that, they sit. And you will not find anybody sitting in these places. You will not find anybody sitting in a bus, a space that is reserved for the physically challenged people. You will not find. You will not find anybody sitting in a place reserved for people with baby wagons. You will not find that. So that for me was anything else I could wrap on my mind around, but that one about the respect of giving the elderly that respect is not there. Is not there, and it's okay because that's their traditions, and you can't do much about it. So when you get into a bus, you have to, most people, and especially during winter, I tell you, when I came to Sweden in April, May there. So it was still a bit cold, but we were heading towards now spring. And it is still cold. It is still, you still have to dress warmly. Most people will go, and during winter it's dark and it's cold. So most people you see will are covered in their hats. They have the music on their ears and they are busy on the phone. It's not time to start to ask somebody at how good morning, how was it? Most people will not even hear you because they have their earphones on. How many times have I not asked for direction and somebody just does that? They don't know. That's because it's not normal to stop a Swedish person and just talk to. Because I mean, there's Google, you can find your direction through the maps. So that's also a culture shock. So the other social culture in Sweden is this. Who knows this? What this is? This in Sweden is called a skohorn. I would translate it as a shoehorn. Shoehorn. Why is it called a skohorn? Because in the early days, this is a tradition that started way also in the 18th century. This thing was made out of the horns of animals. So it could be reindeer horns, it could be cow horns, it could be any animal with horns. They make this thing with it. From the beginning, it was shorter. It was maybe that short, that short. And then now with time, they made wooden ones. And then now, of course, today they're making them plastic and even metal ones, very, very long metal ones. So now what is this used for? This is used for putting on your shoes. Have you ever heard of that? I definitely had not heard about that. This is a school horn used for putting on your shoes. In Kenya, we put on our shoes with our fingers. We use our fingers to put, when you put your shoes in and you want it to enter completely, you use your fingers at the back. You know how it is? And then you push on your feet. In here, we use this. So you'll go in every homestead. I can assure you, in every homestead in Sweden has one or several of these school horn or shoe horns, school horn or shoe horn. In this house, we have three. We have this, we have a white one, and we have this black metal one. So this was made to help you put on shoes. So at the beginning it was this, then it was these long ones were meant for the old people, the people who are physically um, disadvantaged. I can use these long ones. But nowadays they've started to make them out of plastic, out of metal, to now be able to put on your shoes. So this is new. I've never seen this in anywhere else. So this is new. Comment below if you've seen a shoehorn anywhere in, or if your countries you have this. Please comment below if you have a shoehorn in your country and what do you call it in your country. So that's also another culture shock. I had never seen one of these, and every home I know in Sweden has it. The other social culture about Sweden is that in Sweden, you don't get into your house with shoes. You don't get into your house with shoes. You don't get into any other house or anywhere with shoes. If you go to a place like the hospital, for example, or you go to a social event where it's in a hall, you're provided for shoe covers. Shoe covers are plastic covers that you put on your shoes. If you don't want to remove your shoes, you put that shoe cover. Then you can go into the building or the house with your shoes. This is because of course they don't want you to get into the shoes, because that means that the host has to do the cleaning again. Then they think that when it is snowing and they poured sand on the roads, they don't want you to bring in the stones and the sand inside the house. So that's one. And of course, now the bacteria from all you've been walking with your shoes around, they don't want you to bring the shoes inside the house. So what they do, either you provide that, or people will remove shoes when they are coming into your house. And most people, what they do is that, for example, if I have guests in my house, you'll find that most guests will come with shoes, with their shoes that they will leave at the door, and then they will carry inside shoes. So they will change their shoes into their own inside shoes if they don't want to walk around barefooted, or to walk with their socks. The floor could be cold if it's during winter, or they just don't want, are not comfortable walking barefoot without shoes. So they carry their own shoes, or you provide the shoe covers for visitors or for people to get into the building or the house. So that's the other thing. The other thing is about the social culture in this country compared to Kenya, is that when a child is born, the mother or the parents are given 480 days. So the mother can stay home for 1.5 years. But, it's called Mama Ready Head. It's mother leave, motherly leave, to go and take care of your child. So you're allowed 1.5 years at home, and then if you get another child immediately, you are allowed to stay, and you will not lose your job, and you will still be paid your salary. So now the fathers have also the right to take these 480 days. So the fathers in this country are very many that take their papa lady head, now the father's paternal leave, compared to Kenya. Okay, I know now in Kenya more and more fathers are taking the responsibilities. They're even appearing in the maternity wards where when the children are being born. But in Sweden, it is automatic. I have never seen a country where the father is taking months leave to be at home with the child. Remember, in Sweden, there are no house girls. So when the father stays at home, that means he's taking care of this child plus all the other responsibilities of that are at home. That is cleaning the house, cooking, and making sure everything is cleaned up in the house, because you don't have a house help. And then if the other children, he has to also go and pick them from daycare. So that is also something I found that was special, and it was actually a culture shock for me when I got here, because I had never seen that before. I know my brothers are left maybe a day or two with their children. I've seen that happen, and they take care, but they only take care of the children, yet they are house girls in the house. So really, they are really not the ones really taking care of the kids, because there's the house girl to help and cook food and clean the house and all that. The fathers in this country do it all. They take care of the children, they clean the home and cook and take care of everything else. So that's another cultural shock that I got when I moved here. The other one was, and this one is big, is in the supermarket. When you go to the supermarket to do your shopping, there is nobody to pack your shopping. I'm used in Kenya. When you remove your things from the shopping basket, you put them on the cashier's desk so that you can pay. On the other side, there's somebody doing the packing for you. In Sweden, you have to pack your own things. I had never seen that before anywhere else. Please comment in the comment section. How do you do it in your country? Do you have people in the supermarkets packing things for you? do you do the packing yourself? And this is in every shop. Any shop you go, furniture shop you go to the grocery stores, you go whichever shop you go, you take the things you want to IKEA where you're buying big furniture. You have to go identify the furniture that you want, then you go and pick it from where they have been packed. You have to read the number, pick the furniture, and take it to the cashier and put it in the wagon and into your car. You do that all by yourself. There's nobody to help you. And the next thing that I that actually was a culture shock, real culture shock. I told you that I came first time in Sweden in the month of April, May. Still very cold, but the sun is out. The sun is out. So I came, I was dressed in a sleeveless and, I was ready to go out. And my sister asked me, "Where are you going?" And I said, I just want to sit outside at the balcony. I'm just seeing the sun. I'm imagining I want to go and bask. And she told me, "You go outside and sit. It's very cold. Don't be cheated by the sun." So I went outside. It was about 5 degrees, but it was cold. It was very cold, but the sun was shining. So the weather can really, really cheat you because in Kenya, if it is sunny, it is sunny. If it is raining, then it is raining and it's cold. If it is during the April when it's the cold season, you know that it is the cold season. There is no in between. There is no half sun and half rain. In this country, the weather can really cheat you, and it's for you to now start to learn how the weather behaves and dress codely. They have a saying that says there is no bad weather. There is only bad clothes. There is no bad weather, there is only bad clothes. That means that there is no bad weather. The winter is not bad, the summer is not bad, the spring, the autumn is not bad, but it's your clothes that are bad. So if it's during winter, then you need to know how to wear your clothes, to layer your clothes. I have a video. I have demonstrated what to wear during the winter season. Even in the summer, it's the same thing. You just have to learn how the seasons work. In the workspace, what I found, especially when I was looking for a job, is first is the language. You can get along very well because in Sweden they are very fluent in English. They actually love it when you speak English, but if you're in the workspace, you have to speak the Swedish language. So it's very difficult to get a job unless now you're getting the jobs. I'll talk from my experience because today, 20 years down the line, things have changed, of course. But when I came, it was very, very difficult to get a job in the workspace if you cannot speak even the slightest Swedish. So I had to I had to go to school. You have to go to school. There is something called SFE, the Swedish for the incomers, which is free as long as you have the personal number. So you have to go to school and learn the language and practice. And for me, what I found easier, because finally I got the job because now I started to speak one word here. So I got my first job at a cleaning company where I go now into people. So it's a company that employs people to go and clean houses. That means that even as we are paying taxes, it was not black. It was not black. In this country, in Sweden, there are no black jobs. You can get a black job here and there for cleaning, but if you're caught by the state, you will pay for it. You will pay the taxes. So I can openly say there are no black jobs. So I was employed by a company to go and clean houses. So that was my first job. Now, in these houses, when you go to clean, the owners are not at home. So the only person maybe you were speaking to is now maybe your supervisor. So I had started to practice, and then I was lucky enough to have a husband in the home who was speaking the Swedish language, and I could practice my Swedish. And then from there, I got a job in a school to cook food for the kids. And there, of course, now the other people who are cooking food with me were speaking the Swedish language. So I didn't have a choice. So I could train to speak my language here and there. And it was important for me to learn the language because our social circles, now I'm not talking about my sister and her friends, the people I came now from Kenyans, we could speak Kikuyu and we could speak Swahili. In the other circle now of friends, my husband's friends, it was easy. I had to learn the language because you want to understand when they're having a conversation, what is it they are saying. So that was the language was very, very important. And because I wanted to integrate myself into the society, how do you integrate yourself into a society when you cannot speak their language? So that was very, very, very important for me to learn the language. And I did, and I was able to speak, and now I can speak. So there is that you need you can go to school for free and learn the language, learn to write, because the way you write is not the way you speak. So it's very, very important to go to school. Unlike now in Kenya where everybody is speaking English and you can get by in Kenya easily and get jobs easily when you are able to speak English. It's not the same here in Sweden. It's a bit hard, it's a bit difficult. And then, of course, now the fact that, you know, when in the workspace, when you get into the workspace, my first real job, I'll say, was in an elderly home, in a home for the old. And of course, you look different, your pronunciation is different. So you find most of the time is they're asking, there's nobody else who can assist me. It's not because you are not able to assist them, but it's because maybe the language barrier, because of the language barrier. So that's a challenge. It's a bit of a challenge. And of course, sometimes you'll find the elder people who have not traveled uh, and who are not used and who are not used. Let me say that who are not used to seeing people who look like me. Talking about the color of my skin, you found that they were a bit skeptic when you're new. They're a bit skeptic about what you are able to do. What are you able to do this? Are you able to help them? And it's a bit challenging if you're not strong. You need to really be a strong person to be able to live in a country like this, a country where they're speaking a different language and they look different. Of course, I look different, but after a while, they get to see that you're able to talk and the color of your skin doesn't make a difference, and they get used to you. But when it comes to the younger generation, people who have traveled, the color of your skin is not a problem. The thing about this country, discrimination and racist is against the law. Yes, I will repeat again. Discrimination and racism is against the law. Is it done? Yes, it is done. Does it happen? Yes, it does happen. But if you catch somebody, treating you in a certain way, and you ask them, are you doing this because I am different? They always will back and say, no, 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 it was a misunderstanding, it was a misunderstanding. Because it is not allowed. It's against the law. But it happens and it is there. It's not openly done, but you will find one or two people who will do it openly. And for me, I don't do that card. I don't do the and because I'm different card. No, I'll take it with you as it comes. So that's the other thing. The other thing is they have a lot of different etiquette. Like now, if you go to a restaurant, how do you put your spoon, your fork and knife, which direction should it face? Putting your hands on the table when you're sitting on a dining table is also a big no. So these are some of the things that you need to learn as you live in this country that I needed to learn to be able to integrate myself into it. It was a culture shock, yes, but I had to learn these things because when you go to Rome, you do as the Romans do. So it was not easy, but I had to do it. The other thing about what I found with culture shock for me in this country is I'm used to Kenya when you're going to work, the men are dressed in suits and some have ties. Okay, even if you don't have a tie, you're wearing an official shirt and a jacket and not jeans. Jeans don't go to the office. They go to the office on Fridays maybe or Saturday if you work on Saturdays. But in this country, you can go to the office in jeans. You can go to the office in a t-shirt that has a collar. You don't have to be wearing a blazer. So they're not official that way. The way the ladies in Kenya are well dressed, even if I'm wearing trousers, I'm wearing you have some official shoes. In Sweden, you'll find when people are going to the office, they are wearing rubber shoes. You find a man, he's in a suit. He's in an official suit, but he's wearing rubber shoes. So that was really a culture shock for me. We had a finance minister, put his picture here. This was maybe about 5, 6 years ago. Our finance minister, I'm talking about now in Sweden, he had a ponytail. We are talking about the minister of finance. He had a ponytail. Have you ever seen a minister or an official person in the office in a ponytail in Kenya? I have never seen, personally, I've never seen. Comment below if you have seen in your country, you have seen a minister or somebody in the government in a ponytail. I've never seen. Most men are cleanly shaved, or even if they have their hair is combed. But our Minister of Finance had a ponytail, and he was in office for 2 terms. So here, it's not about what you're wearing, it's about what you're giving, what you are able to do, your profession, your career. Are you able to give the people what you have said you can deliver? Can you deliver? That is the biggest question. So in this country, you can dress, there's freedom of dressing. Exactly like there is freedom of worship. Sweden is a Protestant country. They used to be Catholics before in the 18th century, in the 17th century, but today it's a Protestant country. But there's freedom of worship. They are Muslims, they are Catholics, but you should not make noise. It's not like the way in Kenya, 6 o'clock, the mosque you can hear there's a mosque there, there's another mosque there, there's another mosque here. You're not allowed to make noise. You can worship, but you do not make noise. You cannot go beating drums on the road, say in the name of church, because you're disturbing and disrupting the peace of other people. It's noise pollution. You can worship, but you're not supposed to make noise. Like I said earlier in the social culture, you don't make noise, you don't shout. I can tell you, I live near a school, but during the day you cannot tell there are kids playing outside because kids don't shout. My neighbors have small children. You can hardly hear them when they are playing outside. compared to Kenya, where we scream and we talk loudly and we are just loud people, if I may put it that way. I am Kenyan, so I know what I'm talking about. The other thing that also shocked me about the social, I'll go back to the social culture, is the gender preference, the man, the woman, kind of thing. I'll give an example. If you go to a swimming pool in Kenya, if you go to a swimming pool in Kenya, you find they have rooms for women, they have rooms for men. Not only that, they also have rooms for young girls, and now they have room for young boys. In Sweden, there is only one changing room. You can find maybe there's changing room for men and changing room for girls. But there are no other changing room now for small girls and changing room for small boys. Yeah. I'll give you an example. What shocked me, really shocked me to my core. When my husband was taking my daughter swimming, they were going swimming. So I asked myself, okay, now that he's taking her to the swimming, I mean, she's what? She's 6 years old. So I asked myself, are they going to go to the men section or are they going to go to the women? Can you guess where they went to change? He went with her to the men's side to change. And there the men are walking, they are walking naked, and there is a young girl. But I think, and this is personally what I think we put so much emphasis into the gender and we forget to teach our children the respect of oneself. That is why we are so wrapped up in, oh, the women have to be separate, oh, and the children have to be separate, oh, you're not supposed to see me naked, my children, my girls are not supposed to see me naked. I don't know about you, but I am not shy to dress in the same room with my daughters. That's because you teach them more about respecting themselves, and that's nobody. And this they are taught in school. This one they are taught in school that nobody should touch you inappropriately. Even your own parents, when they are washing you, they are supposed to ask you, "Can I wash you in between your legs?" You can get in trouble for touching even your own child when you're washing them. So they teach the children how to respect themselves more than just now teaching them, now you are a girl, you're not supposed to be, because you're not now telling them, why am I different from a boy? So that was a culture I had to learn and understand. And I got to understand, they teach them more about respecting themselves and respecting their bodies. So it's not a big deal. If you, during summer, when we are going to swim in the lakes, they are not changing places in the swimming places. In the lakes out there, when we go for the summer to swim, they are not changing places. Of course, I will not just undress in front of everybody, but I'm not going now to be hiding, almost going towards the bush to hide because I want to change and put my swimming costume. You have a choice to either put the swimming costume inside your body as you go, so then you just go and remove your clothes, or you go and cover yourself with a shuka and change. And nobody will find it strange. If you change your child, you undress your child and put the clothes and to go swimming, nobody will judge you. Nobody will find you strange because the sex thing is not the main thing here. The main thing here is, do you respect yourself enough not to allow anybody to touch you inappropriately? The other thing that also shocked me a lot is that in this country, children, the children are listened to. The children and the women are listened to so much. I'll tell you a story when I took my daughter. My daughter used to do figure skating, so often they have issues with their backs. So I took her to the doctor. She was about, how old was she? I think she was 10, 11, 12. So I took her to the doctor to go and check if there's a problem with her back, to get help with her back. Do you know the doctor was talking to the child? Not me, the mother, I'm there, but the doctor was talking, was addressing the child. They talk facing the child. When you come to where I work with people, I work with children. When you come and it's a child who is sitting on the chair, we will address the child. And the children are listened to. They are listened to more than even when listen to your parent. So if a child, say, I'll give an example, says, goes to school and says, my mother whipped me, they will maybe not take action and maybe they will not address the child, but they look at the behavior of this child. Has this child changed their behavior? Then the child goes and says again. Then you will get a letter from the social services. You can easily lose your child in this country because children are priority to the state. The child is not your child alone. The child belongs to the state. That also was a culture shock. And like Kenya, we actually, and it's kind of sad because we don't give our children the attention. I'm not saying everybody now, don't come at me. I'm not saying everybody, but if a child goes to the police station to report something, excuse me, or they go to and tell a teacher this and this happened at home, most likely than not, the teacher or the police will not listen to that child. Here they will listen to the child and they will take action. There's something that is called logom in this country. Logom means, in English, in the direct translation, means just enough. Just enough. I'm still in the culture shock, different culture shock when it comes to now the socio culture behaviors of the Swedish people. There's something called lagom that you should not too much and not too little, just enough. And that is a norm. You will hear it over and over in everywhere, in every situation. Oh, we want it lagom, you know. That's how you don't talk about money because everything is equal. Is it really equal? Can it ever be equal? No, but they want to make everybody feel that everybody is the same. And that's why you find when they build houses, every house, even in the countryside, every house is heated. Apart from now, the summer houses that probably are summer houses, so they are not heated. So if you go to even up country, the houses are heated. You go to every house has a washing machine, a dish machine, or a dryer. And even if it's an apartment building, they build a separate room where they have these machines for washing because they want everybody to feel is equal. Everybody is equal. There's a lot of do it yourself. That was a culture shock that shocked me a lot also when I came. There's a lot of do it yourself. If you are my follower, you've watched my previous videos. I've done a lot of do it yourself projects in this house. And that's how it is. That is how it is in this country because everything is done. Say, for example, you want to repaint this house. I want to repaint this house. I can have it done. I can have it be done for me. I can get somebody to repaint, but this person is going to charge me by the hour. because this person must also be able to pay taxes. So there's a minimum of how much he can charge me. Well, I can learn how to do the painting and do it myself. So you'll find a lot of people doing a lot of these projects themselves. Not because they can't afford, but like I said in my previous video, you will choose what you can do yourself and what you cannot actually do yourself that a professional has to do it. Like now I gave an example of the wet rooms. The wet rooms are the bathroom, the toilet, and the washing areas. Those are sensitive areas. The rules are very clear. The rules are very strict on how you're supposed to build a wet area. So those you can't do yourself. You have to get an electrician to come and do it. You have to get a plumber to come and connect your water. So these things you can't do it. But painting a wall I can do myself. So I had to learn. I had to learn very early on to do things on my own. I had to learn in Kenya. How many women in Kenya know how to change car tires? If you get stuck, your car get a puncture on the road, how many women are able to do that, to change their own wheels? I did not know. But today, I can change my own wheels. That's because I can either decide now to get stuck on the road and wait for maybe call my husband to come and change the tires or call the garage person to come and change my tires, or I can do it myself. So there's a lot of do yourself. This IKEA company I was talking about, it's a furniture shop. It's all over the world. I'm sure you all know. Comment in the comments below in your country. Is there an IKEA? The furnitures come, if it is a chair, it's dismantled. It's dismantled. They put all the nails that are needed to connect that chair. They put all the pieces in the carton, and then they've given you instruction on how to connect that chair. And which home in Sweden does not have an IKEA furniture? I will tell you almost zero. Every house has an IKEA furniture, whether it's a small stool or a sofa set or a bed. Every home has an IKEA furniture in it in this country. That means at one point or another, they've had to do it to connect these furnitures themselves. So those are some of the culture shocks that I had to deal with. I'll say the first 2 years of coming into Sweden. There are very many culture shocks even today that I'm still experiencing. But after 20 years, I think I have overcome most of them. But those were just but a few of those that are typical Swedish cultures that to be able to integrate yourself into it, you need to learn, you need to know. So I think I will end this video here. I hope you loved the topic of today. I hope you will like. I hope you will share this video. I hope you will leave a comment. If you're in Sweden, let me know what are the culture shock that you have experienced or that you experienced when you moved to the country. And let's learn from one another because every country has its own different cultures and traditions. I'd love to hear from you. What in your country, what are those traditions that are typical from your country? Let me know if you're living in a different country, what are the cultures that you found that shocked you and that you have had to learn to be able to integrate yourself into the cultures of that country. So thank you very much for watching until the very end. Please like, share, engage with me, And most of all, please subscribe. It's free to subscribe. The subscription button is down here. It is free. And press the notification bell because I will talk more about the do's and don'ts of Sweden and the things to think about if you want to move into Sweden, or things to think about if you actually just want to live in another country. So those videos are coming. So keep it here. And for now, I will say God bless you and thank you so much for watching.